exploring the concept of racial disparities in the criminal justice system. What are the main factors contributing to this issue, and what can be done to address them? The results of a number of deeply interconnected issues are the racial inequalities in the criminal justice system. For the purpose of creating efficient solutions to the problem, it is essential to understand these contributing components. Among the most important ones are 1. Unconscious bias and stereotyping. A lot of people, such as police officers, judges, and members of the jury, may have unconscious biases as well as preconceived notions regarding particular racial and ethnic groups. Preconceived notions may affect how decisions are made at different levels of the criminal justice system, resulting in unequal treatment. Number 2. Over-policing of minority communities. Over-policing of minority communities. In some communities, particularly those with large minority populations, there is more intense policing, which results in more arrests and interactions with law enforcement. The historical practices, crime rates, and mindsets mentioned earlier can all contribute to this over-policing. Number 3. Discretion in charging and sentencing. Number 3. Discretion in charging and sentencing. In the criminal justice system, discretion empowers people like police officers, prosecutors, and judges to make judgment calls that are subjective. If this choice is influenced by biases or prior assumptions, differences may result. Number 4. Racial profiling. Number 4. Racial profiling. When a person is targeted by law enforcement according to their race or ethnicity rather than particular proof of criminal behavior, this is known as racial profiling. It may lead to an unfair and unjustified focus on minorities. Socioeconomic disparities. Number 5. Socioeconomic disparities. Racial and ethnic minorities suffer primarily from poverty, a lack of access to a good education, and a lack of job prospects. These socio-economic divides might result in lower access to resources for legal defense and greater crime rates. Number 6. Mandatory minimum sentencing and 3-strike laws. Number 6. Mandatory minimum sentencing and 3-strike laws. Minority communities have been severely affected by mandatory minimum sentences and three-strike laws. We have led to lengthier sentences and higher incarceration rates. 7. Inadequate legal representation. Number 7. Inadequate legal representation. Due to financial limits or other obstacles, racial and ethnic minorities may have trouble finding qualified representation from lawyers. Less effective defense during court proceedings may arise from this. Number 8. Systemic racism. Number 8. Systemic racism. Both historical and current forms of racism have helped to keep people on the outside looking in. Even within the criminal justice system, recognizing and confronting these deeply rooted structural problems is necessary to address racial inequalities. Solutions must be broad and multidimensional if racial disparities in the criminal justice system are to be addressed. Among the tactics to take into account are: number 1, training and education. Number 1, training and education. Educating those involved in law enforcement, the legal profession, and other stakeholders about unconscious prejudice might help them become more conscious of it and make less biased decisions. Number 2, reforming policing practices. Number 2, reforming policing practices. Community policing initiatives, changes to stop and search regulations, and increased accountability and openness in law enforcement are all ways to lessen excessive policing and racial profiling. Number 3, sentencing reforms. Number 3, sentencing reforms. Reconsidering mandatory minimums and three-strike laws, as well as taking into account non-incarceration options like diversionary programs and rehabilitation, can result in more just sentences. Increasing access to legal representation. Increasing access to legal representation. Improving access to legal representation for all people, regardless of their financial circumstances, is essential to balancing the scales in the criminal justice system. Number 5, data collection and analysis. Number 5, data collection and analysis. Detailed information on arrests, charges, and sentences can be gathered and analyzed to more clearly detect and address mistakes. Number 6, community involvement and reintegration. Number 6, community involvement and reintegration. Involving affected communities in decision making can result in more equitable and neighborhood-focused solutions. Recidivism can be decreased by supporting programs for those leaving the criminal justice system. Number 7, policy reforms. Number 7, policy reforms. promoting legislative changes that address institutionalized racism, socioeconomic inequalities, and discriminatory behavior can help to improve the fairness of the criminal justice system. Number 8, diverse representation. Number 8, diverse representation. Supporting diversity in the criminal justice system, including the judiciary, legal professions, and law enforcement, can assist lessen prejudice and improve cultural sensitivity. It takes the cooperation of legislature. It takes the cooperation of legislators, law enforcement authorities, legal experts, community leaders, and advocate to address racial disparities in the criminal justice system. To build a fairer and more just society, it must require a dedication to equality, social justice, and eliminating institutional racism. Thank you.